Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Bad Manners Podcast, Episode 1, where we talk about what we want, how we want. This is B.
This is Hobo.
Well, the big news everybody's talking about, and it's certainly on our minds, is what's going on with the strikes in Iran. What do you know about it?
Not much, just that recently the U.S. did a pretty big attack and killing their supreme leader, and they are not too pleased about it.
Do you think there's going to be any immediate repercussions for us here in this country?
Um, Now, this might be fake news, but as far as I know, didn't they actually strike one of our boats, killing three U.S. soldiers?
I know that they've done a whole lot of strikes. There was some American casualties, I think, at an embassy. So it's already spiraling and escalating, but what do you think about the motivations to do the strike in the first place? What do you think the rationale was?
Well, I know at least most Americans were tired of being Israel's lapdog, so the motivation's not the best, but at least I can support the sentiment that we don't want Iran doing as they please.
Well, Trump did come out and make a statement recently where he's aware that a sort of power vacuum was created, and the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, made comments to the effect that Israel was going to go ahead and do it anyway. And since Iran had indicated that they were going to strike us in response to anything done by anyone, regardless whether it was us, you could argue that we did it at the behest of Israel. You could argue that maybe we did it, because we were going to get struck anyway. Do you think Israel would have gone ahead and done it if we hadn't have joined in?
They're pretty gun happy when it comes to attacking Israel, but I don't think they would have done anything to the U.S. had we not done anything to them. I mean,
Well, what I mean is, do you think Israel would have gone ahead with military strikes against Iran?
oh, Israel, yeah, 100%.
So you think they would have done it solo?
Yeah, they've done it before. Even recently, didn't Trump try to coordinate a ceasefire and then Israel immediately broke the ceasefire?
Yeah, okay, that's fair. They may have well gone and done it anyway. I know that there's some concern that it feels like we're running another errand for Israel when it comes to maintaining the Middle East and the power balance there. Unfortunately, though, the truth is that power balance is never going to be fully mediated. That's been going on for well over 1,000 years. It's probably going to continue going on forever. The Middle East cannot tolerate coexistence between incompatible belief systems. And as long as Iran is an Islamic theocracy, as long as Israel is a Jewish ethno state, presumably but not really beholden to the religion of Judaism, they're going to continue conflicting forever.
Yeah, that history repeats itself. They have done it.
The only
Good bit.
the only thing that ultimately concerns me is kind of one of the reasons that we're, here doing this podcast. What repercussions are we going to face as a result of trying to leverage that conflict at all? Because any benefit that we can as Americans draw from it is nebulous at best. So that kind of dovetails into an article that appeared on Town Hall recently.
Let me just pull it up real quick.
Yep. It was written by Kurt Schlichter. Today, in fact. The article is called "Be Armed and Ready. The Asymmetrical Battlefield Could Be Here at Home." So before we even start reading this, what have you heard about, for example, mosques going up in Texas?
Oh, it's been ramping up. They've been popping up a lot. As for like the exact number, I don't know, but I know that they've been ramping up in good amounts.
So that's Texas, and of course we already have in Dearborn, Michigan, where they use loudspeakers to broadcast the Muslim call to prayer. You now have the Muslim mayor of New York, and New York is, I don't know, have you seen any of the videos where they are just having those prayer demonstrations in the street?
I actually have not.
Now, as an honest question, do you think those prayer demonstrations are done for the mere sake of this is my devout expression and devotion to God, or it's a demonstration of power?
It's a demonstration of power, 100%. I mean, that's a big deal of Islam.
Yeah. So, honestly, we already know that Islam, from history, Islam is incompatible with anything that is not Islam.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not Muslim and you are near Muslims, they are either a current liability to you or they are a future liability to you because they haven't amassed enough power yet to institute their priorities.
Oh well, there's even recent examples of that with the increasing Islam population inside Europe. They're in certain parts of it, they're actually trying to uphold
Sharia law?
Sharia law,
Yeah.
and there's more than a couple of videos of I'd say women dressing how they do, and in a civilization that's not barbaric, and they're getting stoned. They're like not stoned. They're getting rocks thrown at them, telling them to follow Shahir law or whatever it's called. And yeah, they're starting to be more brazen about it. The more numbers that they have, and that's in Europe.
Even without the rock throwing in Europe, you got the grooming gangs in the UK. You have you seen any of the videos of the way the native European people are treated by these foreign men?
Oh yeah, it's awful.
It's just open harassment, stuff that they would not tolerate from any native European man. And naturally, they don't like it from the foreigners, but the women are stuck in some kind of weird limbo where, on one hand, they have to be empathetic to the foreigner who's just trying to improve their life, and then also sensitive to their feminist ideals where they feel like they need to have bodily autonomy from a man. Europe is inevitably doomed. There is nothing they can do unless short of some kind of civil war or the likes of, the Restore Britain movement where they intend to do millions of deportations.
Oh, I didn't even hear about that. That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, we might talk about, I don't know how much we'll ever talk about foreign politics because, we got to be concerned with our own problems here at home.
That's true.
But realistically, because Europe is our spiritual cousin, to some extent, what happens there is a foreshadow of what can happen here. And Muslims growing in number in the U.S. is unacceptable. If you're not Muslim and you're in this country and you in any manner approve of Islam being in this country, and especially those that try to do it under the guise of, well, the First Amendment grants freedom of religion. At no time were the Founding Fathers concerned about mediating difficulties between Islam and Christianity. Their entire historical backdrop, was difficulties between various branches of Protestantism and Catholics. But at least in the conflict between those branches of Christianity, you could find some common ground in which to coexist. Historically, there is no coexistence with Islam that does not see Christians become second-class citizens at best. So the fact that we have them here in any significant number at this point is a scathing indictment of our political class thinking it's okay at all. And other than that, let's get back into what could happen from these Iran strikes.
Mm-hmm.
So this article gets into something that I think is relevant, and this ties into the fact that we've got Muslims here.
Yeah.
And the article gets into it eventually. Recently, there was a shooting at a bar in Texas by a guy wearing a hoodie that said "Property of Allah." So we don't have to really try to guess his allegiance. Before we start this, what do you think of asymmetrical warfare? Is it something you're actually concerned with, or is this more like a boogeyman in your head?
What?
Asymmetrical warfare. Basically, you're not having a stand-up army against a stand-up army. You're having, units, small units, often undercover, that are performing strikes, usually against a civilian population, because they can't have a stand-up fight against a standing military.
Oh no, that sounds very concerning because then the civilians and the public suffer. Look at that. Yeah, close the door. We'll close the door real quick.
We've got a praying mantis.
Yeah, should probably split that thing.
Nah, I'm cool with praying mantis.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be flying around.
That's fine. If it lands on me, all the better.
I mean, it's gonna like be flying in front of the camera.
Yeah, I don't think it will. Anyway, though. So the reason I'm concerned about asymmetrical warfare, and maybe this will be something we talk about at a different time. If you think about it, America's been in this prolonged period of peace where we've never felt any kind of domestic threat since World War II. And even in World War II, the number of attacks that hit American soil were so minimal as to be considered practically non-existent. There was no meaningful suffering, not to disparage, any life or loss of property, compared to what could be achieved now with significant numbers of terrorists being within our confines. Plus, the character of a people at war, even if there were terrorists, they're going to be better equipped mentally and practically, meaning the skills they have, to actually do something about it if they crop up in their midst. But now, look at the school shooting issue. Now we think that putting up a sign that makes an area supposedly gun-free achieves anything at all.
Yeah.
Well, if criminals or people that'll shoot up schools don't care about things like those signs, what do you think a terrorist is going to be thinking whose job is to inflict maximum carnage? And you have a people that believe that these signs are in any way effective, or that they themselves are not responsible for their own safety and security. And they won't even enable people that would help to provide for their safety and security from being able to do so because they fear guns. So the reason I'm particularly worried about asymmetrical warfare is simply because we have a huge contingent of the population that feels no responsibility for their own self-defense. They think it's the government's job. And in feeling no responsibility for themselves, have also sought to make it difficult for others to defend themselves. For example, like here we're lucky enough we've got stuff like Stand Your Ground. But think about people in states where you have a duty to retreat and there's a terrorist attack. And you got to sit there and wonder that if you act now, whether or not that's going to result in something. Maybe you need to take it outside.
I'll just kill that thing.
I guess you could do that too.
I don't know where it went.
Anyways, though, if we had a population that was equipped mentally and skill set wise to actually deal with any potentially asymmetrical warfare as it popped up, then I think that this possibility wouldn't matter as much. But I think it's the character of what is a huge contingent of the people that live in the United States now. It's a real problem because not only do they not stand ready, they might even be an impediment to people that would take up the sword and shield for them. So, the article begins, asymmetrical warfare means applying the strengths you have against an overwhelming enemy's weaknesses. The mullahs have been utterly humiliated by America's and Israel's overwhelming military superiority and conventional force with our airplanes, drones, and other systems traversing the airspace at will after we established total air supremacy. Our ships sail the seas unthreatened and unchallenged while most of the Iranian Navy morphs into submarines. But that doesn't mean that they don't have the capacity to strike back, and that doesn't mean that we don't have potential weaknesses. Everybody has weaknesses. Ours is located in the United States itself, our homeland, where we're at. It's already happening on a small scale with open immigration poster child. I'm not even going to bother with his real name. He doesn't deserve it. So I'm just going to call him no decency. So with open immigration poster child no decency shooting up a bar in Texas for Allah. We're vulnerable here, and you are potentially on the front line of this war. Do you feel like you're actually potentially on the front line?
Not currently, because it hasn't happened near us, but it's definitely starting to get a lot closer. Um,
I think
it's
whether
getting
you
ready.
I think whether you feel threatened probably has to deal with how close a mosque is to you, right?
Yeah. And they're definitely popping up.
So time to be ready, time to be armed, time to get some. What's our vulnerability? Civilians, normal Americans who Iranian proxy terrorists could murder in heaps. Until Donald Trump came back, we had 4 years of wide open borders where every third world indigent with shoes and a dream was able to sashay into our country unimpeded and often subsidized by President Eggplant and his Democrat administration. The truth is, we have no idea how many people came across the border those last 4 years.
Oh yeah, those borders are wide open.
Have you seen the photos of them having caught a bunch of Chinese?
I haven't.
Oh, yeah. They just got a long train of Chinese men with backpacks and, similar luggage. It's like, okay, they happen to catch them. Those are just the ones they happen to catch. Why do we got Chinese here at all? My opinion is you got the liberals. The liberals, of course, they're going to be like, they're just here for a better life. To which I say, if even one of them is an espionage agent within that number, the damage they could do is incalculable. So whatever benefit it might provide to those individuals' lives is not worth the damage that's done to American life. Do you agree or disagree?
No, I definitely agree. It's kind of selfish for somebody to be so concerned with themselves just wanting a better life, but they, at least what they're abusing is causing serious harm to the country that they're trying to flee to.
Well, yeah, it makes it sound like them coming here is more of a I suppose it's selfish on its face.
Yeah.
I mean, they are coming for their own self-advancement. But at the same time, the fact that we had leadership at any point that thought that it was okay to just have the borders that open and uncontrolled for 4 years, and accepting that even if you accept, because there's supposed to be studies that say that immigrants have lower rates of committing crimes than the pre-existing American population. I don't know why in the liberal mindset it is okay, since they are presumably here to seek a better life, that Americans are supposed to suffer the crimes that are committed by the bad ones that inevitably come across too. And that there shouldn't be this overly vigorous vetting system that makes sure that none of the bad apples get in.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that they just expect the public to shoulder, any amount of crime, to help a different populace that's not around.
Yeah. Well, what's the purpose of a country? It's for the current citizens, but it's also for the ones to come. So you're supposed to be safeguarding and protecting the future too. And we somehow had leaders in this country that they had no interest in protecting the future or the present.
Not at all. Kamala Harris, borders are.
Oh, think about that for a sec. That was somehow deemed to be one of the two best people to potentially lead this entire country of 350 million. Her. There is no way, there is no vocation that she is good at to which would possibly elevate her to being second best in the world at anything.
I think it was basically confirmed at one point that she was just a DEI hire.
Yeah, she was. Let's be honest. She was absolutely DEI hire.
Biden straight up said that he wanted to hire a black woman to do something.
Supreme Court.
Supreme Court.
Yep.
Blatantly, he just said that.
Well, I think I've seen DEI referred to as didn't earn it. There's a lot of truth in that. If you're moved to the front of the line purely because of your skin color or sex or whatever the case may be, you're not the best at it because others had to be moved back in order for you to rise up. But anyway, uh, we know the Iranians have agents in the United States. That's open source, and everybody gets the FBI is on full alert now that it protects American citizens, again, instead of oppressing them. This is not wolf crying. The Iranian mullahs tried to murder Donald Trump and others and have caused lots of other mischief outside their borders. Now, the Iranian jihadis are not superstars, and they're not super geniuses. Have you ever looked at a map of average IQ?
Yeah, I have.
By country?
Yeah.
Let's just say the cousin marriage thing that the Prophet Muhammad really got them on board with, it's done them no favors for intelligence. And, oh, actually, the UK is kind of having a row over that. So, cousin marriage has been banned there for a long time.
Yeah, and recently they started to talk about the benefits of...
Not benefits, they just want to bring it back.
Really?
Yeah. Somehow, a country like the UK, which at one point was kind of like the bastion of civilization, has invited so many people from other places whose IQs are sorely deficient, who engage in a practice that we know is harmful for long-term intelligence, and they are going to believe that these people are right and that, you know what, we need to marry our cousins. That is the pro-gamer move here. Jeez. Anyway, they are cunning and relatively competent at times in doing what they do, and what they do best is attack innocent civilians. As we can see, when they come up against soldiers, they die a lot. Yeah. Well, there are lots of innocent civilians here in the United States, and it is not unreasonable to assume that the Iranian Republican Guard Corps has infiltrated sleeper cells into the United States. Once activated, they have the potential to go on a murder spree unparalleled in American history, one that would make Saturday night in Chicago look like a picnic with the Muppets. Where do you think that, let's say that these sleeper cells are real?
Mm-hmm.
To some degree, I kind of doubt they might exist. I question their competence. But let's assume they exist and they're competent enough to actually carry something out on a significance. Where do you think they would hit?
Populated cities. Well, if their goal is to attack, civilians and induce terror, Phoenix, Chicago, New York.
Yeah, most densely populated cities. I would also think they're going to hit the bluest locations.
The blue, yeah, where they're less likely to get taken down.
Yeah, they're going to be softer targets.
Mm-hmm.
It's really that simple. Because you think terrorists are ever going to go after the hard target?
No.
I mean, you never get your moment of glory if you get capped at the entrance to your mall.
Yeah.
I wrote about this in my best-selling novel, published not long after October 7th, because October 7th is the asymmetrical terrorist mass assault template called The Attack. The Iranian thugs helped plan and approve the Hamas massacre of innocent Israelis, as well as some Americans, which is more the reason that they're getting nothing but what they deserve right now. The idea behind an asymmetrical strike is simple. You send in minimally trained but maximally indoctrinated killers through the open border and they wait. Notice the minimally trained but maximally indoctrinated. This is why I am skeptical of the actual effectiveness of any sleeper cells. Their training is probably not going to be the best, which means that even competent American citizens that are armed, alert, aware,
mm-hmm.
should be able to have a chance to strike before much damage can be done.
Those are quickly dwindling in numbers.
Oh boy, aren't they. Jeez. You got about half of our population that's just ideologically diseased. If you're a leftist, you're useless to either maintaining the civilization or propagating it.
Going harsh, huh?
Think about it. leftists are all suicidally empathetic.
Mm-hmm.
They're always concerned about, oh, people are just trying to make themselves better. Oh, we're all basically the same. Oh, all humans are basically good. Any evidence to the contrary is irrelevant to them. All that matters to a leftist is that they feel good about their moral beliefs. Whether this civilization exists in 20 to 50 years, they don't care. All that matters is they felt good while they did it.
Yeah.
So that leaves it to conservatives, the ones that feel they actually want to conserve their communities, their cultures, and propagate it further and pass it on to the next generations. We're the ones that have to do it. But the sad truth is, and I honestly believe this, people that adhere to those kind of traditional American beliefs where you have to be responsible for your own self-defense, that it all falls on you ultimately, it's an increasingly diminishing group of men.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say that there aren't women that would meaningfully contribute to self-defense. American history is full of women that actually meaningfully contributed to that. But let's be honest, civilization lives and dies with its men's ability to defend it. So, and so long as you see sad liberal men, that's another man that could have been useful in the fight to preserve, but is never going to be. In fact, will usually work against you.
Oh yeah, 100%. I see that every day.
It's not hard for them to get weapons into the United States. It's not even hard to get weapons in the United States. Criminals get the weapons in the United States all the time anyway. So I don't know why I needed to point out that. The AK-47 family of assault rifles was designed so that Siberian peasants would have an effective weapon system they could operate even if they came from a village still baffled by devices such as the wheel. You can buy ammunition in the United States and magazines, and recently, it was not that hard to ship fully automatic weapons across the border. You know how hard it is to be an American citizen that gets to own a fully automatic weapon?
Oh yeah, you gotta get permits. I think just one permit, but
It's
costly.
It's costly. It's cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
But if I'm not gonna bother researching that, so I'll remain skeptical on whether it was easy to ship fully automatic weapons across the border. Do you know about Operation Fast and Furious?
I do not at all.
During the Obama administration, I don't know if this was a genius Machiavellian scheme, but given that administration, I assume it's not. So the federal government was complicit in guns being sold to Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of American guns ended up in Mexico and ended up in the hands of cartels, because Mexican civilians aren't really supposed to own them. And those guns naturally ended up being used in crimes.
Mm-hmm.
They then run with this narrative that, gun violence in Mexico is to some degree America's fault, thereby promoting calls for more gun control here in the U.S. It was a stupid scheme. It clearly failed on its face, but it is something they tried all the same. So maybe his claim about it being easy to get them across the border is because of that? Anyway, until Trump closed it, there was no shortage of cocaine, heroin, and fentanyl. Actually, this is a short aside. What do you think should be done with drug dealers?
I think Trump's been doing a pretty good job of making sure that they turn into mist.
Well, I guess you're on the right track. So I'd take it you're generally in favor of drug addicts get the Singapore treatment of death.
Oh yeah, the amount of deaths they cause is like insane.
There was a stretch of time where I was kind of a libertarian bent on drugs and like, oh, people should be able to put in their bodies what they want. Why would you enable poison pushers to push poison because you want to consume the poison? The damage and devastation it causes is not worth whatever supposed principle that you're getting.
My stance on the whole not drug control, the drug traffickers is that they are constantly trying to optimize not even a better high, but a stronger high for their users so that they get hooked on their own on their supply, and in this constant effort to make a stronger high, they're lacing it with different things. I know at least back in the day, the reason that the coke responsible coke user or the functional coke addict was a thing was because it was pure. It was more pure cocaine. So you could actually do more and actually do your job. But now the reason that that's kind of like become a fairy tale is because it's being laced with so much stuff. One wrong dose can kill you. Every single time that you try to do some coke, you're just rolling the dice. Um, it's just mixed with so much stuff that like people are dropping left and right, and there's no reason that the people that are supplying these things that are trying to get better profit margins for the lives that they're taking, that they should be allowed to live. Absolutely not. I think they should be turned into mist.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know whose route would be cheaper. I'd be getting a. I think rope is pretty reusable, and so is the tree you'd put it around. So, but yeah, any poison pushing drug dealer, they should get the rope to the last man.
100%.
Anybody that's profiting off of what is causing long-term human misery, they're not fit for continued existence. Anyway, the cartels would eagerly assist for a price paid out of the pallets of cash that Barack Obama and Ben Rhodes dropped on them. That's a reference to the money to Iran that Obama and Biden's been complicit in giving them. The advantages of this are obvious. Under Biden, nobody was looking for them. We didn't do any interior enforcement. Now we famously are. We can only hope that getting Iranian-adjacent illegals, aliens out of the country is one of ICE's top priorities. Of course, neurotic wine women and flamboy libs will have a conniption over us deporting these potential terrorists, but we need to do it no matter how hard they blow their whistles. Well, I think I've already made my stance clear. In general, Muslims need to go. But anybody Iranian adjacent when it comes to supporting the mullahs is going to be Muslim. Or maybe some profoundly stupid liberals in the United States. But they can go too. I'm I'm sure the wine women will love their rights over there.
Yeah.
Just remember that the killers don't have to be Iranian. They can be from Chechnya, Egypt, Afghanistan, Turkestan, or some other random stand. The Iranians aren't picky about who they work with. Iranians are Shia and Hamas are Sunni, but that didn't stop them from getting together to murder Christians and Jews. Anybody from the Middle East who's over here illegally, and some who are here legally, absolutely have the potential of acting for Iran if activated. You know what's the kicker? They don't even need to be acting for Iran to engage in it. Their jihad is permanent. So this is just like added icing on the cake for them, I guess. We've already had jihad murders here, like the Pulse nightclub and San Bernardino shootings. We hear less about them lately because Muslim murderers have had the limelight stolen by trans deviants who've gone on killing sprees over their pronoun gripes. But that doesn't mean they are gone as totally as real Americans as you and me. No decency demonstrated. Still refuse to say his name.
He doesn't deserve one.
Nope. The beauty of the scenario for our enemy is that it is a quintessential asymmetrical attack. It takes the weaknesses of the Iranians, like the like the inability to coordinate forces, lack of logistical and administrative support, the absence of command and control, and paucity of concurrent communications, and turns those into strengths. Basically, their competence is their incompetence.
Yeah.
When those don't exist, the cells are hard to locate. If you have small groups of fanatics whose sole purpose is to go to a given location at a given time and kill everybody they see until they themselves are killed, you don't need any kind of support. They are akin to drones. Meat drones that their overlords can fire and forget. And since American forces tend to look at the enemy's support systems to find weaknesses, which is one of our advantages because we do it so well, you end up neutralizing the American advantage. Americans want to beat the enemy long before there's an actual gunfight. In this way, against an Iranian enemy, an asymmetrical attack would ensure lots of gunfights, giving Iranian proxies the ability to cause significant casualties where they wouldn't have the ability to do that otherwise. I think we'll go ahead and stop that article there. So obviously, we're Americans.
Mm-hmm.
We got families, communities that we're surrounded by. How much effort do you think you would reasonably put in even talking to them about the possibility of this stuff?
More some than others. I think even the ones that are less likely to absorb this information, I'd still try to pass it by them. just to get them thinking about it. But
I
decent
think
amount.
I think the average American is so thoroughly used to Pax Americana, where we've just been in this long period of peace,
Mm-hmm.
that the notion of any attack occurring here is akin to fantasy. Because those few attacks, like this no decency guy that did this shooting, they're so few and far between that it doesn't ever come to their mind as real. And until they experience something directly or adjacent to them,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they would take it serious as a conversation topic with them. And you could argue to a degree they're right because the odds of them being directly afflicted are pretty low.
I mean, yeah. I started off this podcast by saying that I don't feel too threatened right now because it hasn't hit close to home. So I'm kind of victim to that myself. Um, I mean, until something happens close by, like, it's hard to conceptualize it as something that's like, real until, no, as I said, it happens. But we've definitely been in a prolonged period of peace where even online there's a popular saying going around that's like, nothing ever happens, because we're so used to, like, any type of scandal or any type of instance that pops up, it just diminishes into nothingness. But it's because of that prolonged period of peace that we've had. But they're quickly ramping up, and we need to start seeing them as a legitimate threat. Which,
Yeah.
which is why I do want to start talking about it and start, like, getting the idea out there, because you just because it hasn't happened close by yet doesn't mean it won't happen, and you need to start being proactive about it,
Yeah.
arming yourself, making sure that you're in a position where you're actually able to protect your family. People that don't own guns, you might want to at least have one in the house so that if something happens, you're able to at least protect the people around you that you care about.
I think I think a lot of the problem with how people downplay the potential threat of this, they simply don't understand that they have an enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And since 9/11, we've imported ever more of that exact same ideology that is directly opposed to everything that an American stands for. They don't understand it's an enemy, and if you're a leftist, you actually court it as an ally.
Mm-hmm.
So in their minds, these are actually just good people who share their same interests, even though their supposed allies engaging in jihad and will overthrow them given the chance. They're just enabling what is effectively a social cancer to metastasize. But that actually kind of goes into this next this tweet that was put out by a U.S. Congresswoman that definitely underscores the reality that they are not our allies. They are not fond of anything traditionally American. So this tweet by the Congresswoman says both the U.S. and genocidal Israel doesn't care about the laws. The fact we have elected congresswomen who can't even use correct grammar is concerning, at best. This is who they are. The choice of they is not, at best, it's a Freudian slip. These people do not view themselves as American first. And if they are not American first and they are Muslim first, then they are inherently dedicated to the subversion and eventual overthrow of anything that is non-Muslim. It is what they're called to do in their texts. What do you honestly, when you see a U.S. Congresswoman over here saying that the U.S. is a they, as in an other, what comes to mind for you?
They haven't assimilated with the U.S. They don't feel as though they are part of the U.S. Like you said, Freudian slip. I tend to think that the people who are, elect officials are, like, highly capable people. But when you see stuff like this where they can't even, like, have proper grammar, it's it's really concerning. of what's going on. And
Think how stupid. Okay, so it is no mystery that overwhelmingly leftists, especially modern leftists, they're godless. They're atheists. The fact that atheists would vote for a Muslim means that you are either suicidal or you simply do not understand the way they will treat you if they ever got enough power to their group. Because at least if you're a Christian or a Jew, you get treated worse. You're a second-class citizen, but you're not dead. Because if you're an atheist, it's very much convert or die.
well, at least with the leftists, I think they all adhere to the basic thought process of the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah. It's a power game for them. All they know is leftists hate anything traditionally American. They feel a perpetual need to apologize for the sins of the past, and they especially hate the founding stock of this country because,
They weren't perfect.
No, they hate the founding stock because by virtue of us being the founding stock, we necessarily oppressed anybody not of the founding stock.
Oh, founding stock. Okay.
So basically, it's an anti-white paradigm.
Yeah.
And you have the ideologically diseased leftists that are white, that are fully on board with it. They do not want to continue existing, and their bloodlines, I'm sure, will not make it much further. We've seen the statistic. They're not breeding. And the ones that are breeding, think about the values they're passing down to those children. Those children are probably going to end up of, let's just say, certain inclinations that don't lead to procreation. Or their values are going to be so degenerate that any child that they do have is going to not be able to sustain a civilization at all. They're going to be useless to themselves and the people around them. Side note, have you seen the studies claiming that I think it's Gen Z is officially dumber than the preceding
Oh yeah. We are not we. They are the first generation in a while to actually start dropping in IQ.
Yeah, it matches. It completely matches. There is nothing in a leftist worldview's value set, because they're not inherently consistent. You cannot peg them to any specific set of values, but in that absence of any unity in values, it's going to promote relationship dysfunction, because if you match up people of similar values, the relationship could succeed.
Mm-hmm.
You have no idea. If you run into a leftist, you know that they could be anything in terms of their actual belief structure. There is nothing to inherently give you an idea that they are in any way compatible or similar to you or to others. So they have to somehow reconcile that with other leftists, because, conservatives are the devil. Procreate, pass on whatever values those were to their child. Their child has to somehow make sense of it. But are those values even ones that can sustain civilization? Probably not. The U.S. was already the world's dominant power after World War II, and it's gotten worse in every conceivable measure since then. What has risen since World War II? Leftism. Hippies in the 60s. Everything since then has been an ongoing extension of hippie ideology. None of it has made any American standard of life better. So when I see stuff like this, it just means the barbarians are already inside the gates. What other way you could put it? That person by no stretch would be identifiable at any point in American history as synonymous with American beliefs. Go back 100 years. Let's assume they get over whatever racial or the fact it's a woman. They would not look at that comment. Well, they'd be confused about Israel being mentioned at all. They'd be like, what? Because Israel wasn't a country 100 years ago. But they'd look at that and they'd be like, how is this not a traitor? Or how is this not a seditionist? And it's not just because of her ethnicity, it's because her beliefs make her entirely anathema to anything traditionally American. But that's because she wants to destroy anything traditionally American. She wants to do it for Islam. The leftists want to do it because they want their stupid communist utopia that ignores human behavior. Wrapping up the Iran subject, moving forward, what do you expect to see from it? Do you think it's going to die down?
No, I do not think it is going to die down anytime soon. I think recently I just saw a video by Dylan Page where he's talking about how Iran bombed parts of Europe, and they're actually calling for the United Nations to start taking it as an attack against everybody, against the United Nations. I want to say that happened today.
So you think Iran is just going to continue, because they've been striking a bunch of places, not just us, not just Israel. They've actually had strikes against a lot of places. Do you think they're going to continue to just spiral out of control?
Yeah. I mean, they've been doing it for a minute now, and they show no signs of stopping. I don't know why they would stop.
So, follow-up question.
Especially right now, since they're angry that their supreme leader just died, or not died, but was killed.
So, a follow-up question to that: do you think moving forward that pro-American interests are going to fill a power vacuum that gets created there? Do you think at the end of this that Iran will actually cease being a theocracy and it'll actually transition back to being something pro-Western?
That's a loaded question. I don't think there's any way to tell, because I know right now there's plenty of protests happening in Iran. Trump told the people that this is their one chance, or there's going to be one of their only chances to be able to take back their country.
Yeah, their country.
Their country. So there's actually been a decent amount of violent protests. Not protests. Riots? Yeah. There's been a good amount of riots where I know they secured a police station. They've secured some other places. I don't know. All my information is from Dylan Page, so.
The reason I'm skeptical that at the end we're going to end up with a pro-Western interest is, number one, if you don't have a command structure or authority structure that is ready to go and to start implementing itself and actually have the will of the people and the ability to, see to their needs in the interim, they're not going to be effective. And if you look at, for example, one of the reasons we put our American boots on the ground in Iraq and Afghanistan is you needed them there. Otherwise, the people would revert to whatever their majority populations found most natural. It's the reason Afghanistan has the Taliban back.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to Iran, I'm skeptical. It would be wonderful for the Iranian people and, of course, for here in the West, if they're in fact able to get new leadership that is actually able to go back to, pre-theocracy Iran. But the Muslims have controlled the power structures there for decades now.
Mm-hmm.
They're better armed. So you'd have to hope for mass defections from whatever the armed units are. And that's not... How are you going to accomplish that without Western boots on the ground?
I don't think you can. I know that's something that we're trying to avoid right now, not putting boots on the ground.
That's the thing. I absolutely... Any notion of American boots on the ground in Iran, I reject it. I reject it because we know from Iraq and Afghanistan, it does not work. It costs our lives, and as far as I'm concerned, no American life is worth any amount of Iranian lives. My interests lie with the American people first. And for that reason alone, we shouldn't be putting boots on the ground there, for certain. And then there's the costs of it. The American debt didn't spiral out of control until Bush really kicked off the whole Great War on Terror thing. So we can't put boots on the ground there without incurring massive problems on our end. But yet, any Iranian patriots, what tools do they actually have to take the power and keep the power? Because we also know from history, Muslims cannot tolerate anything that is not Muslim.
Yeah.
So they will fight whatever, let's just say, secular Iranian government until the end of time. It's the reason that they will never have peace with Israel, because Israel is not Muslim. I mean, at best, if we're being completely Machiavellian about this, as a Westerner, you could hope that Iran goes secular, because it'll keep Muslims from attacking us, because they'll be distracted with, knocking off an enemy close by. Some people have made the argument that one of the reasons that Israel is our so-called greatest ally is simply because they keep the Muslims in the Middle East distracted from going after other targets. Because they have to continue pursuing other targets until the end of time. So I guess it's how many proxies do we want to throw up between us and them?
That's funny. Calling them a proxy.
What is Israel if not a proxy state for the United States when it comes to dealing with Muslims in the Middle East?
Not much.
They're certainly not our greatest ally. Any notion that they're an ally at all is farcical, because Israel actually does the completely right thing. They are out for their own self-interest, as any nation should be. But that doesn't make them our ally. They just make us, they're just our proxy to keep radical Muslims at bay.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny part is, as much as I've ranted about Muslims, I think the Muslims that actually stay in their countries are totally fine. Because the ones that are staying in their countries are not engaged in jihad against anything that's not Muslim. Now, they might fund, the militia proxies and whatever, but at least they're not putting the warm bodies out there to actually do it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, anybody, I can't stand the people in the U.S. They're like, Israel is our greatest ally. They are not an ally. They use us for their own self-interest, as they should. It just means that we should not be going along with it unless it's in our self-interest.
That's a good stopping point. I think that will conclude episode 1.
Yeah. Well, this is the Bad Manners Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
This is B.
This is Hobo. Hopefully you guys tune in for the next one.
Have a good night.